I've had a fairly long and varied history with Lego. I've loved it as long as I can remember, and through all this time, I've done some slightly strange things. But one thing that's followed me through the last 10 years of collecting has been the Legend of Zelda franchise, and for the first time I picked up Skyward Sword. I had been desperate for my two favourite franchises to merge. Considering the Lego Legend of Zelda Custom Set Showcase is kind of a big thing here on the channel, I thought that as we celebrate 1 year of being on YouTube, I'd share some of my Lego Zelda journey. And this means from the first mock way back 10 years ago, the ideas, projects I would have loved to have seen be real, and then to, of course, where we are today. So without further ado, let's take a step back through time to 2011. So, once I started getting into Skyward Sword, I immediately turned to the Lego collection, which was very, very different back then. And I started building from the Pirates of the Caribbean and Harry Potter sets. So, I had the best thing I had for a link in those days was this micro figure from the Lego Lava Dragon board game. Not very accurate and certainly not green. He's red. As for what I built, well, I remember building quite a lot really. Completely made up stuff for my small personified Link figure to fight, but we see quite enough of that on the Lego YouTube scene these days. The only things I have of note, which I have photos of, are two mocks of custom dungeons I made. The first of which, in 2011 or early 2012, is built out of the Cannibal Escape set and depicts a foresty dungeon. So let's take a quick look through these and see what we can work out from the image. So you can sort of see, like I mentioned, foresty dungeon. We have some like tribal heads, some like leaves and stuff, and some sort of puzzle mechanism which has a cage and a weapon at the top. I guess the skeleton guys are supposed to represent Stalfos, maybe. You can sort of see the entrance here in the top left, on the bottom right, as well as some chains which I assume activate some sort of moving feature in this model. Um, oh, there's a little burst. It looks like you can get a bottle in this dungeon from the bottom right, and there are those Stalfos up close. So it seems like more of a smaller, like climb puzzly dungeon. A couple of secrets, a parrot, and some enemies to fight, which, to be honest, for 2011, and considering how bad a builder I was, I don't think it's too bad. I think it's interesting to take a look at. And then, as things moved slowly back then, we jumped to 2012, where I built another dungeon, this time loosely inspired by both the Jim Henson movie Labyrinth and the Skykeep from Skyward Sword, where there were little 6x6 challenges that moved and could be rearranged. However, I still think this is awesome, if a bit messy, and I want to bring it into the future remastered someday. And again, we can sort of tell quite a lot from this one, from the images. You've got these little 6 or 4 by segments on hinges. You can see there's this little entrance room. There's this jumping parkour section up in the top right. You've got this like mirror corridor, some goblin heads, a snake to fight. Just some little challenges. Things were abstract. I wasn't particularly good. So this dungeon in particular, as I flick through these, was actually the first inspiration for the Modern Custom Set Showcase, which we'll come back to. But this means that I've been making custom dungeons for over 10 years, and honestly, just look how far they've come, and I think that's really noticeable here. I kept creating and playing with what I had up until about 2013 or 2014, where while my building hadn't exactly improved, my access to the world around me had, and I discovered Lego ideas. On ideas, there had been many Zelda projects, but as this video is about me, selfish I know, I want to mention the ones that vividly stand out in my mind as cornerstones of my journey. Each one of these paved the way for what I do now, and each inspired me to keep wishing for the day when they finally accepted Zelda sets. I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the first and greatest, Wes Talbot's amazing Iron Knuckle encounter and the gorgeous poster that went with it. It really set my hopes high seeing this glorious project. However, as I would not play Ocarina of Time for another 3 years after seeing it, it meant very little, and the project, despite how wonderful it was, had already been rejected at the time that I saw it. The two that inspired me in those early days were two that you've probably never actually heard of. The Legend of Zelda Farron Woods and The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, both by Ideas User Brick Cluster, and both expired projects. Both were tied to my favourite game in the series, Skyward Sword, and now these were top of the line submissions back in the day. And for someone that heavily used Lego Digital Designer before I used Studio, these were glory. These were glorious. They looked great at the time. And apart from these two, nothing particularly caught my eye, apart from the Wind Waker's project. And it was a long time before I saw anything that particularly interested me again. And as Breath of the Wild arrived and my love for the series spiraled to new heights, a resurgence occurred and the pieces began to fall into place. Next up for me is Bricklink Studio. This all-new program replaced LDD and gave my Lego Legend of Zelda Journey its wings. One of the first 5 models I built on the platform was to make a Sheikah Slate. Now I know this is a bit chunky, it's a bit badly proportioned, but we were on the roll again. I'm not, as I said, I'm not particularly amazing at building. And for the next 2 years, the courage of Link and the game's stories made their way into every mock, minifigure hero, and build I did. And this gingerbread man, technically was my bootleg equivalent of Link. He personified him, and that's why I chose to do gingerbread Link for the advent calendar figure. I even had my own Divine Beast as well, and this was a giant rubber duck, a giant rubber duck. Yeah, I was sort of behind for my age. I was way too old to be using a duck as a Divine Beast. But it wasn't until 2019 when Link got a body, and that comes down to one man. Hans was yellow first. The Breath of the Wild stable mock sort of catalyzed the entire showcase and reinvigorated my interest in seeing Lego Zelda sets after 7 years of waiting. I started thinking about what it would look like to have a Zelda set, as well as the reason that the project could be rejected. After this, I made my original purest Link and Zelda in early 2019 using the yellow skin tones and no custom prints. But this wasn't all. I revisited channels like Lego Zora, which I'd used to watch when they came out, and now my eye was caught by something specific like the Dark Link and Chilfos custom sets. At this point, I was desperate for any kind of Lego Zelda content, and Brick Gallery's Hyrule Castle only increased this desire, as if fans could create these amazing designs, then what could the Lego group do? Ideas reviews came and passed while I was disappointed. I arrived at one conclusion. I didn't want just an ideas set. I wanted a full wave of sets. I could dream, but I was not yet quite sure what form it would take. So regardless, I started work on my first modern Zelda mock, and while I'd been inspired by Joseph Zawada's Twilight Princess Hyrule Castle, this was my own. A giant minifigure scale Breath of the Wild Hyrule Castle, by far my favourite location from that game. This was a huge undertaking, and it underwent 3 versions before I settled on this one here. I started in the docks, which is a top-tier location in the castle by the way, and months went by as I chipped away at the project. However, I started to get the urge to experiment with playscale sets. I'd seen very few attempts at the whole package, box models and figures, especially in the Zelda place, so I drew up an idea for a LEGO Ideas project that was the very first version of the custom dungeon. Designed to work just like the Sky Keep, that other muck I showed you from the Skyward Sword Land Mining Facility, and a slide puzzle, the point was supposed to be a modular and tileable Zelda dungeon to post on ideas. However, pieces started to fall into place when the idea morphed when I watched Noah's amazing custom Zelda series, and I started to draw up plans for a new modular dungeon system, all drawn in an art package, but with hand-drawn figures. So I got to work learning how to proportion minifigures, but I basically failed. I'd also been slightly dumb and forgotten I could just design the model in Studio like a normal person instead of trying to draw them by hand. I really don't know what I was thinking. And with that, the Fire Sanctuary was complete, and this was about 2 weeks before Lego Mario was teased. And from that announcement, it breathed new hope into every Lego Zelda dreamer, and it certainly did for the same to me. I began to plan another 11 companion sets and to make the most realistic Zelda wave I could, expanding on my custom dungeons and, among other things, taking its final form in 2020. The first wave of custom sets were finished, and not before I had to relearn how to draw minifigures. Thank you, Action Flash Drawing Tutorial. But at this point, I'd only designed the custom sets for myself. I planned to follow up the first wave, and with a second, and I also became incredibly scared of what a cursed nightmare Lego Digilink could look like, and I started to search for other active Lego Zelda mock creators such as Hylian Bricks, Brickster, Brick Wizard Studios, Spinach Bricks, and all of those people. Sesame Street arrived and trounced the new mold rule, which had once stopped Lego Zelda sets from being made on ideas. I grew to love Lego Mario and became excited for when my franchise got the same care and attention, and I kept on designing, drawing, thinking and wondering as my list of Zelda sets grew to 3 full waves. But once again, my gaze shifted to another idea, sharing the custom sets on YouTube. It was a perfect excuse to spend more time making customs, and as long as one person found it interesting, I would consider my purpose on this platform fulfilled. Naturally, this was a nervous process, and while I was considering it, I have to thank Bricknet for naturally convincing me to try it, and boy am I glad I did. And wow, has time flown. 10 years waiting, 1 year on YouTube. There's been an awful lot of highs as well as some lows. Where's my 35th celebration, Nintendo? We've come a long way in just 1 year, and we may not be the fastest growing, but as a group, I wouldn't exchange you for any other audience. So, thank you for watching and commenting and putting up with me and my microphone troubles, my stuttering for 1 year and over 100 videos. And you've seen it all. Fire Sanctuary, CMF, The Great Sea Adventures, Castletown People Pack, The Wing Ceremony, Bokoblin Battle Pack, Wolflink Attack, The Master Sword Pedestal, Gomer's Nest, Guardian Attack, Cuckoo Wrangling, Age of Calamity Accessory Pack, The Advent Calendar, Monk Mouth Kosher's Final Trial, Hylian Shield, Val Meadow, Val Naboris, Spirit Train Adventures, the Liz Alphas Battle Pack, Blight Ganon's Polybag, The Kinetic Sculpture, Ice Enemy Battle Pack, Hyrule Castle Sanctum, Shadow Temple, Prince Ralis Wagon Escort, Castle Wall Defense, SDCC Link, the Goomba Cave, Adventures with Digilink, Doctor Battle, Champion Tunic Link, Zorarama Digilink, Ganon Castle Boss Battle, Tower of the Gods, 3 Days Accessory Pack, the Koga Helmet, the Ranch, Ravaruta, Varudania, as well as everything else to come. I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye bye.